104.5 The Team, your home for Yankees baseball. The Yankees headed to the playoffs, or at least some variety thereof. But I got to ask you, Buster, I'm watching this Yes 2 network, as they're calling it, where like Ronald Torres runs around with the seed caddy. He's the cameraman. Then everybody's interviewing people. Have you ever seen a Yankee team this fun before?
Not to that degree. Doing something like that, that's pretty cool. I think it probably just reflects the time. But absolutely, I mean, it makes you laugh. Certainly, for my job as someone who interviews players on the field after the game, heck, it's like a nice dry run for them.
So here's my next thought. I've watched this team all along. There's no way Jeter would ever let this go on, right?
See, it's funny because as time went on with Derek, I think he got sort of like the reputation of being the no fun guy, right? I mean, some players who would come in toward the end of his career would say that privately. They'd go, well, Derek it's kind of stiff. Derek was the guy, remember, when he was a young player, Joe Torre would go to the mound to make a pitching change, and what would he do? He'd slap Torre on the chest with his glove as a habit. When he'd wait in the on-deck circle, he was the guy chatting with fans, sitting in the front row. He was very engaging, actually, relative to the age as a young player. And I remember writing stories, asking veteran players, hey, does it bother you how much Derek is out there? But over time now, you see certainly the perception of what Derek was as a player has certainly changed.
Buster Olney with us right now. So, Buster, I got Goz over here, and he's all worried about Tuesday night.
No, you should be. They're playing a game. Buster, explain to him why the Yankees might have to be a bit worried about the one-game playoff against Minnesota.
Because it's a total coin flip, and stuff happens that you don't expect. When I was covering the Yankees, I think in 2000, I never forget it. It was at the end of the year. I'm an exhausted beat writer, and the Yankees lead Oakland 2-1, and they got Roger Clemens, okay, Cy Young candidate, who's going to be on the mound for the start of Game 4. And I know if the Yankees wrap it up, that means I don't have to fly the next day across the country. I can actually get some sleep. And I think before they got 2 outs, Oakland led 4-0. Okay?
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm telling you, these games, you just don't know. And the Minnesota Twins are, since August 4th, they average more than 6 runs per game. They're the hottest offensive team in baseball. They're playing in Yankee Stadium. 2 swings of the bat, Levack, and you're ready to, go jump off a bridge someplace.
Who's going to be on the mound for Minnesota so Levack can make his voodoo doll for that player soon?
Well, there's no doubt about it. On paper, advantage for the Yankees. Urban Santana is starting for Minnesota, and he has an absolutely horrendous history in New Yankee Stadium. 6 career starts with a 6.34 ERA. He's the 8th highest rate of fly balls in Major League Baseball. And, of course, he's a right-hander pitching in a park in the wild card game that's completely unforgiving for right-handed fly ball pitchers. So, on paper, you'd say the Yankees have an advantage, and it'll be very interesting to see, what the plans are for the Twins going into the game in terms of the adjustments that they'll make if they get off to a slow start. And I'm really curious to see, in a one-game scenario, how Paul Molitor, the manager of the Twins, handles this situation with Aaron Judge swinging the bat so well. If I'm him, I'm going into that game, I'm like, that guy's not going to beat me. Like, I'm going to make somebody else beat me because that's how well Aaron Judge is swinging the bat right now.
All right, Buster, let's ask the real question. Who pitches Game 1 of the ALDS for the Yankees? Based on what we saw today from Tanaka, I go with Tanaka. I think first off, when he was in Japan, he was always a big game guy. He's used to that sort of assignment. You love how, when he's right, he keeps the ball down, and he's extremely effective. I think Sonny Gray would be perfectly fine to start the game. I think CeCe Sabathia would be perfectly fine to start the game. But I like coming back with Tanaka because I think it sets up the rest of the rotation better. I like Sabathia as the Game 3 guy back in Yankee Stadium. You're trying to rebuild some momentum with Sonny Gray going in Game 2.
With this regular season coming to an end, are we going to see a Rookie of the Year and an MVP, both from the New York Yankees, named Aaron Judge?
It's interesting. I would have told you, I did say it on television 2 weeks ago. I was like, it's over. That Jose Altuve was going to win, or is going to win the MVP award. I still think that's the case. And he's a perfectly
excellent choice. I mean, his batting average is going to win another batting title. He'll become the first player in the history of Major League Baseball to lead his league outright in hits in 4 consecutive seasons. Terrific defensive player. Houston's been, generally speaking, for a lot of the summer, the best team until the Indians made this late season run that they were on. But I don't know. The one thing is, you can say about Aaron Judge, I mean, he's putting together the greatest season for any rookie that we've ever seen. To see a rookie leading his league in home runs and in walks and in runs is pretty incredible. And I think that Judge actually is going to have a chance. It's going to be very interesting to see where the numbers finally fall.
Buster Olney with us right now, 104.5 The Team. Buster, is there? I mean, I might be unfair in some of this, but I've kind of been on the air saying that there's a lot of the writers who just can't justify themselves giving 2 awards to one guy.
They don't care about that.
Oh, they don't?
No, I don't think so. Now, I say that, of course, there are a lot of famous votes that were taking place in 1999. Pedro Martinez didn't win the American League MVP award, which he should have won, by the way, in a year in which, in the middle of the steroid era, everyone's hitting homers. He had an ERA under 2. And one of the writers, 2 writers didn't even put him in their top 10, and it cost Pedro the MVP award. And there was an explanation from one of the voters, well, I don't vote for pitchers for the MVP award. And then they went back and checked that writer's ballot, and he had voted for a pitcher the year before. So I can't, and you go back through history, my goodness, Jackie Robinson wasn't named on 24% of the ballots the year that he came up for the Hall of Fame. He's not a historic figure. People didn't vote for Willie Mays for the Hall of Fame. So I can't always explain what writers are thinking. Generally speaking, though, I don't think they care about that. And besides, I think that the Rookie of the Year stuff was settled so long ago, it's almost going to feel like a separate award.
So that's not a factor, but what about that strikeout streak for a factor? It's a whole season award. Or even him getting really good at the end, like a boxer winning the final round. How much influence does that have?
Yeah, and I think that that's going to be the key question for a lot of, how writers assess that. As they say, if I were voting, and I haven't voted for a major award since 1996, but if I were voting, I would give Altuve the edge, in part because he's been so consistent and consistently excellent throughout the year. And there's no question the Yankees don't get into the postseason without Aaron Judge. There's no question he was the MVP in the first half. There's also no question that he was a huge part of their problem when they slumped for 6 weeks. So that's going to be the pivot point, because if you look at the overall numbers, Aaron Judge is the MVP.
Buster with us right now. Buster, the Mets looks like they're going to part ways with Terry Collins.
Yeah, and that's not a surprise. It's just a question, I think, of having it pushed across the finish line. Newsday had the story on Friday about how essentially that Fred Wilpon has protected Terry Collins from the front office in recent seasons. That's 100% true. It was fairly well known within the organization that the front office wanted to make a change. They feel like that there's potentially some better options out there. But Fred has a real affection for Terry, and he probably also looks at a big picture and say, wait a second. The Mets were in the World Series in 2015. They made the playoffs in 2016. They're completely ravaged by injuries this year, and you're going to put that on Terry Collins? So I don't think in this case that Fred is going to stand in the way of what the front office wants to do.
Any idea on who might be the next guy?
A couple of interesting guys. I'm really curious to see what happens with Alex Cora, the bench coach for the Houston Astros. I do think you're probably going to see someone who is more sabermetrically inclined, with more experience using those type of numbers. I don't, I've seen some of the names that are out there. Joe McEwing is an intriguing name. I've always heard of it, that he's a guy who's got a lot of respect as a coach and might be a good manager, but I think they're just starting the process.
Buster with us right now, and Buster, the Derek Jeter saga is really getting underway down in Miami.
Yeah, he got approved. His group got approved as the new owners of the Marlins, and now the real drama starts. What in the world are the Marlins going to do with Giancarlo Stanton off of this historic season? 59 home runs after Thursday, but the team has so much debt, and a lot of that tied into Stanton. $295 million owed over the next 10 years. And so Derek comes in, trying to distinguish himself from previous ownership.
which constantly sold off players like Miguel Cabrera and turned the fans against them. And if you're Derek Jeter, you might have to walk in there, and your first major player transaction would be the dumping of your best and most prominent player. I don't know. I find it to be a fascinating quandary because I think if they do trade Stanton, that it's almost like saying, you know what, check back with the Marlins in 4 years, because I think the fans will throw up their hands and say, forget it. We're not even going to bother with this team moving forward. And Derek would have to be in for the long haul trying to win them back. And here's my other question about Derek running that team. Is he going to go out and get someone who can really help him to navigate through some of the tougher choices? You guys saw last Friday, the Marlins let two Hall of Famers. They fired two Hall of Famers, Tony Perez and Andre Dawson, over the phone. According to Miami Herald, that was directed by Derek. He had somebody else do it, and Jack McKeon, a long-standing member of that organization, helped them win the World Series in 2003. And Jeff Conine, known as Mr. Marlin. And if Derek had an advisor who giving him some thoughts on it, I think the advisor would have said, look, for the amount of money you're going to save by firing these guys, it's not worth it. And if you are going to fire them, you better step up and do it yourself. Otherwise, people are going to look at you and say, that's kind of weaselly.
Is this him trying to, keep some of the blood off his hands because he knows once he gets rid of Giancarlo Stanton, he's not going to be very popular for a while?
I don't know what he's going to, what he was thinking in terms of, and he hasn't spoken about it, by rule. Major League Baseball is not going to want him to speak about it until everything is in place and it's all formally approved. But it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, these guys were making, in fact, I know how much they were making, and I promise you, it was within the baseball community, it was a very modest amount of money. It's not like, and each of them, when you talk to them, it's not like they're big, pushy personalities. They're respected guys within that community, and the amount of money saved and the effect on the franchise, it was penny wise and pound foolish.
Buster, the next time we talk to you, it'll be playoff baseball.
It'll be playoff baseball, but the big question for you the next time I talk to you is whether or not the Yankees are going to be involved.
I mean, they'd probably be up a couple games. I am just saying.
Actually, you know what? I am going to follow the winner of the American League Wild Card game. So the next time I talk to you might be from Cleveland. Get ready for the start of the Yankees-Indians series.
See, sweeter words have never been spoken, my friend. I am ready. I am so ready. Buster, thank you, and we appreciate you as always, brother.
Thanks, guys.